Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about several different things. Bad luck, Billy. Looks like he's going to stay. We got talk of Mark Stoops possibly retiring. And then we got to talk about the fake injury test that's coming up Saturday with Lane Kiffin and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hey, you want to fake injuries? You got it.
Oh my God! Oh,
We're going to find out a lot in that game, I can promise you. And that one's going to be at 3:30, which makes it even more interesting. I'll tell you why here in a minute. All right, we got to talk about Billy Napier. It looks like they're going to stick with him down at Florida no matter what happens this season. I can partly understand that. They have looked a lot better. The team that I saw that came up to Neyland had some gusto about him. Fortunately, Billy came through for us like he's been prone to do and kind of screwed it up to where we wound up winning that game. But their team played with some fire, and I think they would have beat Georgia had DJ Lagway not gotten hurt. And I think there's a lot of thought that, hey, DJ might leave if they get rid of Billy. DJ looks like he could be phenomenal long term. We'll see. You know, I mean, he's only a true freshman, but man, he's looked pretty good. It's hard to, show up at 18 years old and play like he's played. And we'll see what happens with his hamstring. It might not be, they're saying it's not as bad as what they originally thought. But let's get into this story. Their athletic director, Scott Strickland, he's the guy that said, hey, everything seems to be going okay. Disciplined, stable approach. They don't want to keep firing people.
please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
You got to take into consideration $26 million, which would be the second highest amount to ever pay out to a coach. Now that pales in comparison with Jimbo Fisher. Texas A&M paid him $76 million, which is just unbelievable. I have no idea where A&M could get that kind of money.
Haven't you noticed? You got to be a man to play in my league.
But anyway, that's a lot. $26 million plus all the assistant coaches. Then you got to go get a coach. And I can tell you Lane Kiffin was going to ask for the moon. So, and that's, of course, who they wanted. So I don't know. It's a very difficult situation. It's a shame that DJ got hurt. They win that ball game, and this is all taken care of by itself. Now, the difficult part is he's 15-18. He's got a losing record. He's probably going to have a losing record this year because the schedule's so tough. You're going up against Texas, which is going to be really difficult, then LSU, then Ole Miss, and then you get a break, which wasn't supposed to be a break, which was FSU. Florida State has just fallen apart. I never seen a team crash and burn this bad, and that's taken a lot of pressure off the Florida Gators because those two teams just really, everybody watches them in Florida. I know Miami is doing much better this year. They're doing great. But crap, if you watch that ball game against Duke, they might have had 30,000 people in the stands watching a top 5 team in Miami who's undefeated playing a 6-2 Duke, and it's half full. You got to be kidding me. So I don't know that Miami cares enough about their football team, but I can promise you FSU and Florida do. They fill their stands even when they suck. So I think FSU has taken some pressure off Florida. If they were undefeated again, he'd probably already be gone. I don't think they could have taken 2 years of that crap because Florida State fans would have just ripped them to shreds. But now they're almost like in misery together, and misery does love company.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
So it does look like they're going to stick with Billy. It turns out some of his bad luck, maybe it'll turn around for him. Maybe DJ gets back in there. I highly doubt he plays tomorrow, but he might play next week. And I can understand him not wanting to spend that money if you're not guaranteed to get the coach that you want, which they're not guaranteed to get Lane. Especially if he beats Georgia, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. They're squarely in the playoff sights then. It's going to be a heck of a ball game. And like I said, let's get into that now. The Georgia Bulldogs are not appreciating what Lane Kiffin's up to, and it talks about a new way for him to fake injuries. I don't think it's a new way, by the way. Pete Thamel says there are 26 players on Ole Miss injury report, which is some type of record in the short history of SEC injury reports, and this is not new for him. He's been doing this all year. Against South Carolina, the Gamecocks had 4 people on their injury list. He had 25. The VOLS had 5 that week, by the way. This is what he does. He sets up all these injuries in advance and says, these guys are questionable. They may fall down and get hurt. We may have to fake some. We may have some real injuries, things like that. Well, I tell you what, last week he didn't fake any injuries. Now, he beat the crap out of the team that he was playing, which I believe was Arkansas, so he didn't need to. But I'm sure he doesn't want to get hit with a $50,000 fine, later a suspension, a $100,000 fine, all those things that Greg Sankey has made it clear is going to happen. And Lane Kiffin has been the poster boy for fake injuries, and he's brought it upon himself. You know, he didn't even try to fake it. He's usually over there just going, go down, go down. And I've shown you tons of pictures of that. I've worn that guy out. I made it a pilgrimage to stop him. Now, Saturday at 3:30, we're going to find out, because this will be the one game where if he is going to fake an injury, he'd want to do it in this one. Because first of all, now Georgia doesn't go super fast, but they go. And they've got a solid quarterback in Carson Beck when he's not throwing interceptions. And he will have time. That's the one thing about the Georgia Bulldogs. And Carson Beck is that he normally has time back there to make throws, and he'll hit you for 20, 25 yards right down the middle of the field. He loves to do that. And as soon as he does it, you know Ole Miss is going to want to fake an injury.
Ah. Oh, my arm. It's broken.
To slow everything down, let their defense get set up, and give their defense a breather. Go to commercial break, do all the crap that they do, which is a free timeout, or a Kiffin timeout, as I like to call it. We'll see if he's going to do it. If he's going to break the rules, it's going to be in this game, because this is an elimination game for them. If they lose to Georgia, that's 3 losses. They're gone. So I get to watch this game too, because it's at 3:30 and my team's at 7 o'clock. So this is a huge test. Like I said, Georgia Bulldogs are already accusing him of fake injuries. And the reason you do this is so the other team doesn't have enough information to be able to set up for you. You know, if somebody's questionable, you're like, well, are they going to play this guy? Are they going to play this guy? And you got to set up for multiple possibilities. That's what that's all about. It's gamesmanship is what it is. It's not as bad as the fake injury cheating. It still sucks, though. All right, now we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about in Kentucky, and that is Mark Stoops. There's a lot of talk up there that he may retire. Now, they're having a terrible year. We'll go over their schedule here in a minute and see what they have left, but it's just been abysmal, or abysmal. It's one of those bismals. Anyway, he said something that was very retrospect the other day, and a lot of the people in Kentucky are like, oh. I don't think they minded either. Mark Stoops said, I love this place. It's my home. I care deeply about this place. And the Kentucky network said, he did good things for Kentucky football. Starting to sound like he might be ready to retire, though, and I hope he chooses this off season. He has definitely left his mark on the program. Kentucky Update said, yep, he's retiring, based on that same quote. And he's been doing that quite a bit. And if you look at their schedule this year, they're coming off 4 straight losses. That's very depressing. They've only won 3 games, so they're 3-6. They are going to win this Murray State game, so that's no big deal. That'll at least get them 4 wins. But then they got to go to Texas, and then they got Louisville. So the Louisville game may decide it for him. If he loses that game, he might retire. I don't think he'll coach more than 1 year after this. I think he's on the verge. He didn't take that Texas A&M job. I think he pulled himself out of that because he didn't want to lock himself in for many, many years. If you know Bob Stoops, his brother retired early, and I believe their father passed away on the football field, probably heart or something along those lines. So they're very aware that, life is short. You might want to retire and enjoy all this money that you've made. And he's done well for Kentucky. Look, he's won 10 games twice at Kentucky in the SEC. So he deserves to have the time to make that decision. And if he wants to coach another year, Kentucky will certainly let him. They're not going to want to pay him some ton amount of money. It's like $40 million they'd have to pay that dude. He makes $9 million a year. So we'll see how this plays out. I think that Louisville game will be huge, though, and the Texas game. If he gets beat bad at Texas, which he probably will, and then Louisville's a decent team, so maybe better than Kentucky. We'll see. You never know when an out-of-conference team plays an SEC team. Sometimes it surprises you. But anyway, that's what's going on right now. There are 3 big stories that I wanted to cover. This is terrible for the algorithm because I did a show earlier today with my brothers. You don't want to throw a bunch of shows out at one time, but there's so much going on, I just had to cover all this stuff. So I'm fighting the algorithm big time by doing this.
It is inevitable.
But anyway, it's what I do. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 right there it is. Little button, doesn't cost you a dime, help you get my videos. Just hit it. And right over here's most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. Algorithm again. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.